Well, hey friends and neighbors, this is Chuck at Sheraton Park Farms. Welcome back to the farm. We've got some more rain, if you can believe it or not. So it's muddy, it's nasty. We really can't get outside and do much. But something I want to talk about today is related to a question and a comment that I get a whole bunch on YouTube and Facebook, email, and that kind of thing. And that is, you know, what you're doing is great, but I don't have any land. I can't start pigs, I can't start chickens. I just don't have any land to do anything. So today I want to talk to you about an enterprise that you can do, whether you're living potentially in an apartment or a townhome, in a subdivision, or if you've got a little bit of property, an enterprise that you can do that requires basically zero land, no land at all. So stick around with us and let's talk about a cool little hobby that could turn into a profitable enterprise for you. Hang out. So a topic that we've never really talked a whole lot about here at Sheraton Park Farms is beekeeping. And beekeeping was really our first entrance into anything agricultural about, gosh, I guess about 8 or 10 years ago now. I took on the advice of a friend, Jamie Miles, who runs the channel 7 Stands Farm. If you've not seen that, go and check that out. He recommended that I take a beekeeping class. So me and another buddy of mine who was also a paramedic went and took a beekeeping class to learn how to keep bees. And so my friend Kevin, he's been doing this as long as I have, but he's much more in depth in it than I am. We kind of piddle at it along and kind of skim the surface of it. But bees are a great enterprise to get into if you're looking for a hobby in the agricultural world, or if you're looking to build an enterprise that you can make a little bit of money on. Bees, like anything else, you got to have a little bit of scale. You got to be producing plenty of honey and or plenty of bees to really, you know, make a whole lot of money at it. But you can make enough to pay for your hobby. So one of the things when I got started in beekeeping was there was a lot of terminology and a lot of stuff that I didn't understand. And I don't know that I'm going to do a whole lot of beekeeping videos, but it's nasty outside. I was in the shop and this just seemed like something that would be kind of fun to talk about. So I wanted to kind of dig into it a little bit today. And the first thing I want to talk about is the equipment, or what's called the woodenware. This is the actual hive or the colony that you see whenever you see beehives sitting on the side of the road or wherever the case may be. So we're going to get into that here in just a second. Also, I mentioned earlier that this is something you could do with zero or very minimal land. I've seen folks that have got beehives sitting on top of the Ritz-Carlton in downtown Charlotte. I've seen folks that rent out entire fields of canola, for example, to put their beehives in. So beehives doesn't take any space. You might want to check with if you're in a subdivision or you're in a neighborhood or something like that, you might want to check with your HOA just to make sure that you're not going to be breaking any rules. But beekeeping, fun little hobby, cool thing to do, can make a little bit of money, doesn't take any space, and it's pretty easy to get into. So let's talk a little bit about the woodenware, the equipment that you're going to need, basically the house for your colony of bees. So there are actually a couple of different styles or types of hives that you can use to keep bees in. There's a top bar hive. We've got a top bar hive. We don't really use it, but we've got one. There's a top bar hive. There's a skep. That's typically the old-fashioned style that you used to see years and years ago. Typically it was like a real heavy twine, thick, woven, arched, kind of a half of an egg shaped type deal that folks would keep bees in. And then this is the most modern style. This is called a Langstroth hive. So let's go through, talk about all the parts and pieces of this. This is a complete hive. So we're going to go through, talk about all the different parts and pieces, show you what they are, show you what they're called, and talk a little bit about each one of them's purpose. Okay, very first component in a beehive is the bottom board. This is the board that you sit on cinder blocks, some railing, whatever the case may be, wherever you're going to be setting your hive up at. This is the bottom board, and this is the foundation of your hive. This is what the rest of your hive is going to sit on. These come in two styles. This is a solid bottom board. There's also the screen bottom board. It works the same way, only the bottom in this one has a screen instead of a solid bottom. Folks use these for mite counts, different purposes, but we've always just used the solid bottom board. So the bottom board is your very first component. The next component you're going to need is the hive body, or some folks will call it the brood box. This is the primary residence of where your bees are going to live. These come in 3 depths. There's a deep, a medium, and a shallow. Typically a shallow is called a super, and we'll talk about that in a minute, but these are the deep hive bodies, or the deep brood box. Inside of these are frames. Now this is just a plain simple frame, doesn't have any foundation. This is a shallow frame. It does have some foundation in it, embossed with a honeycomb shape on it. This gives the bees a place to start building their wax out. This brood box here is a 10 frame, meaning that there are 10 of these frames inside the brood box, or inside the hive body. You can also buy these in an 8 frame version and also a 5 frame version. The 5 frames are called nuke hives. Those are typically starter hives. Whenever someone's trying to start a new colony or a new hive of bees, they'll buy a nuke hive, and that's a different topic for a different day. But primarily this is your hive body, your deep hive body, or your brood box. Next component, and this comes with a little bit of controversy. Some folks use these, some folks don't. I have used them in the past, and then we've elected not to use them sometimes. This is called a queen excluder. Typically your queen excluder will go between your deep hive body or your brood box and then whatever your supers are going to be on top. A super is where the bees actually store their honey. The purpose for this is the queen bee is the largest bee in the hive just in terms of size. She can't get through the striations in this queen excluder. So the purpose being, this goes between the brood box where she's laying all of her eggs and your super. That keeps the queen out of your super and prevents her from laying eggs where you're trying to capture all your honey. So again, this is a queen excluder. These come in metal versions. They also come in plastic. I've got a couple of plastic ones. Don't really recommend those, but if you're going to use a queen excluder, get the metal ones, and it goes between your brood box and your super. All right, your next component after your queen excluder is going to be your honey super. This is where the bees will go to put away stores of honey. Again, queen excluder keeps the queen out, prevents her from coming up here and laying eggs. So all the worker bees are coming back and they're packing honey away inside of these cells that are built out of the foundation on these frames. Again, this is a 10 frame super. There is a box that works the same way, has the same amount of frames in it, that is halfway between this depth and this depth. It's called a medium, and some folks will use those for everything. Brood boxes, honey supers, they'll use them for the whole deal. That way you don't have to buy frames that are shallow frames and deep frames. So that way it makes it's just a whole lot easier to keep up with the size of stuff that you're using, and you're not mixing and matching different sizes. Honey supers, depending on how healthy the hive is, how well the honey flow is going, you can build these out. I've seen folks that have had 5, 6, 7, 8 honey supers on top of a brood box or a couple brood boxes if they had a really super healthy hive that was doing well. So next component is your honey super. The next piece after you've got your last honey super on top of your colony is going to be one of these. This is called an inner cover. Inner covers go between the last honey super that you've got on top and the actual top of the colony. Purpose here, this maintains a very specific bee space between the top of your frames here and the bottom of your inner cover. That gives the bees plenty of room to come around and move and do all the things they're doing inside the hive. If you didn't have the inner cover in, sometimes you'll get a lot of excess wax buildup between your frames and the top of the colony, the lid that you're going to put on there, and then that can just cause a mess and make it difficult to manage your hive. So next component is going to be your inner cover. And then certainly last but not least is the top of the hive. This is the lid. This fits down nice and snug right on top of your inner cover, which is on top of your honey super, which is on top of your queen excluder, on top of your brood box, on top of your bottom board. This is now a complete hive ready for a colony of bees. So there it is. That's your complete hive with your bottom board, brood box, queen excluder, super, inner cover, and your lid. So if you're interested in beekeeping, do a Google search for your local state bee association. I'm pretty sure every state has one. And then most towns and counties have a local chapter of the bee association. And they, beginning in mid to late March, they will start doing a beginner beekeeping class that you can go and get some hands-on experience and learn all that you need to know about getting started with beekeeping. A lot of us joke, if you ask 10 beekeepers a question, you're going to get 11 different opinions. So seek out a good mentor, find somebody that's been keeping bees for a while, that's going to teach you how to do things right, how to take care of your hive, how to manage your hive, and how to keep a healthy stand of bees on your property. Number of good channels out there that talk about beekeeping. My personal favorite is the Fat Bee Man, Don Kuchenmeister. He's down in Georgia, keeps bees on a commercial scale. Fantastic information, super videos, does a lot of really cool stuff. We've learned a ton off of him, and that's just a good channel to watch. I'm sure there are others, but I would recommend the Fat Bee Man if you're getting started. I'm gonna post a link to a couple other videos over here, some other stuff we got going on. We do pigs, chickens, sheep, turkeys, eggs, gardens, bees. We do all kinds of stuff around here. So if you've not subscribed, hit that subscribe button, follow along with us, and we'll see you on the next video. Thanks.